Hi guys, it's Dutchess, and Sunday, I'll show you Sunday. There she is on my lap. I just wanted to come on really quickly on live because, okay, there's a couple things I want to talk about. So, I think the chat is turned off, by the way. I'm not going to look at it till the end, and I'm going to be talking about some controversial topics, so I don't even know if I'm going to look at it at all. But anyway, so I want to do a call to action right now for the Super Bowl because from my understanding, from my research, and also from my channeling as a psychic, it is my understanding that the Super Bowl is the biggest energy harvesting day of the year, and it is also the biggest HUMANTRAFFICKING day of the year, okay? They do a lot of their trafficking during this time period, as well as harvesting the energy through the ritual that is the halftime show. Hi guys, people are starting to come in. Remember to like the video so people get notified. So it's my call to action to you today is that if there is any sacrifices that are done during this time, and to the poor people that are still stuck in modern day slavery through this trafficking, I'm hoping that we can open up a white light portal over the Super Bowl so that if any souls are sacrificed during this, or for the people who are still suffering in modern day slavery, as I said, that frequency gets put to God instead of put towards whatever evil that they might be trying to accomplish from this extremely evil circus, right? It's a modern day, it's a play, right? The world stage is a play, and they usually find a way to put their rituals into what it is that we're doing so that we have false consent around the evils that's going on below the surface. So this is my call to action for people who, you know, do care about this kind of thing and who do spiritual work. I would love if we could open a portal of light, and if we could siphon all of the energy that is harvested during this time for source or God as you perceive God, so that all of the evil that takes place tonight does not feed more evil. And I also would like to, as well, in my humble opinion, as someone who recently started watching football, I feel it's very rigged for the Chiefs. I think that's pretty obvious for anybody with half a brain cell, that they feel like having Taylor Swift dating this guy, it feels very much like a PR relationship. Having Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce is good for the brand. It's good to get people to tune in. It's good to make them money. And from my humble opinion, as I said, of recently getting into football, every time I've watched the Chiefs, the referees are extremely biased towards them. And also, like, the guys that they have doing the calls in New York, like I said, I'm no expert on football, but it seems like everything is always put in the Chiefs' favor because it's rigged, because that's what makes them money, in my opinion, right? I think it was already planned that the Chiefs would go to the Super Bowl. And I think that, yeah, they have good players on that team, but I think it's pretty easy to be good when things are constantly put in your favor, right? So if we can not only open this white light portal so that all of the energy harvesting goes straight to source, the unconditionally loving source, or God as you perceive God, if we can say that all of the ritualistic abuse that's going to happen tonight goes straight to source instead of to evil, I think that would be great. I also think it would be really great if we could collectively come together and try to see if we can get the Eagles to win. And I'm not saying this as someone who's like a fan of the Eagles. I'm literally saying this in like the same frequency that we came together and we stopped that hurricane in Florida. And I don't really care if you're not understanding the spiritual side of this just isn't the live for you, and that's okay. You don't have to understand it. But those of us who were energy workers that were up there with that hurricane, and we were literally moving it out to sea so that it didn't level Florida, like, we stopped that. That was a controlled weather situation that we were able to come together, and think about how many lives we helped to save by using our mind, body, and souls to move that hurricane outward so that it wouldn't just completely level the state of Florida. Think about how many, like, of course there were casualties of plants and animals and people, and of course people lost their lives and their homes and I'm getting covered in chills right now. Like, I am like covered, guys. Like, my hair's standing on end. I just did a whole video on how I found out I was psychic and not psychotic, so I'll be posting that soon. I just did the ancient Kemetic tarot reading, and that came out like really good. I really, if you haven't watched that, it was like really powerful. There was like a lot of like paranormal moments in it, which was pretty cool. I am like shivering. But anyway, I would like to use the same energy that we used to help pull the hurricane out to sea. And remember, we also opened up white light portals as well, so that the casualties that were had during that hurricane, sorry, I must have Cornica on the mind, but so that all the casualties that did inevitably happen during that hurricane, that those souls would be sent straight to source. They wouldn't be harvested. They would, because just like you can traffic a human, you can traffic a soul. And this is a Native American belief, and I'm going to talk about the natives in a few minutes after I finish getting this piece out. But we opened up a white light portal so that the casualties that inevitably did and would happen with the hurricane, whether it was plants, animals, or people, that they went straight to source, and they didn't go into like any kind of siphoning or evil entities. We didn't allow those souls to be trafficked. We opened that white light portal and we said enough is enough. So I'm hoping we can do the same thing with the Super Bowl tonight, with any ritualistic abuse that is taking place underground or in front of our face. I think it's really important as well to remember that it's like there's so much power in non-consent. So if you're watching this and you feel like your energy is being harvested, please remember to say, like, I do not consent, I do not consent. Like, there's so much power in rebuking your consent and saying, you're not allowed to do this to me. You're not allowed to siphon my energy and use it for evil. So let's come together, because as I've heard and as I've researched over the last several years of my life, here's Sunday, my little baby. I just have to move because my hip kind of hurts. Hips are about balance when it comes to spirituality. But from what I understand, from what I've researched and what I've learned, it is the biggest human trafficking day of the year. And if we can take some of that evil and instead of letting it overcome us, if we also too think about it, guys. So without getting censored and in trouble, COVID started in January of 2020. Then, suddenly, Kobe and his daughter were, in my opinion, sacrificed. Then, after that, they had the Super Bowl, which is the biggest human trafficking day of the year, where they siphoned all of our energy and then also did their ritualistic abuse to the people that are caught in modern-day slavery. And then, after that, they rolled out COVID, right? So, we have to think, they just set Hollywood on fire, in my opinion. I have a whole tarot reading on that. They just set Hollywood on fire. So that was, and what else? So they sacrificed Kobe and his daughter, and then they set the Amazon on fire, and I have a whole explanation of what was going on legally during that time, right before they set the Amazon on fire. The Indigenous, which we're going to talk about the Indigenous being under attack again right now, the Indigenous were under attack. Their land was under attack. Corporations were trying to buy the Amazon, and the Indigenous had just won in court, and within 13 hours of winning the rights to their land was on fire. And then that's when the big corporations come in and buy it out. So let's think about that, right? We had the sacrifice with Kobe and his daughter, we had the fires, we had the Super Bowl, and then we had the planetary global psyop that was COVID. We're having the Super Bowl, Hollywood was just set on fire. Like, it's like you have to follow the patterns, right? So let's come together and say enough is enough. Let's put that white light portal above the Super Bowl and say any energy that has harvested during this time is for God. It is not for the Antichrist. It is for God as you perceive God, the unconditionally loving God and source from which all things come. That doesn't support this kind of thing, you know? So That's my call to action. And then I also think it'll be funny if we can make the Eagles win, because then they won't be able to understand what happened, right? Because if it's, in my opinion, it's rigged and it's already set for the Chiefs to win. But if we all collectively come together and say, screw that, the Eagles are going to win, then they're not going to know what happened, right? The same way they didn't know what happened with the hurricane. Elizabeth April channeled that and they were like, we don't know why it didn't work. Like, because they don't believe in us. They don't believe we have that power. So let's freaking use our power and let's stand together. Now, the other thing I want to say, which this is a very controversial topic, okay, I got like a comment. I really didn't read it. It was like a 5-paragraph essay. If you're giving me a 5-paragraph essay and you're telling me how much you hate me, I'm probably not going to read your comment. I'm probably just going to hide you from the channel and delete your comment. But one, because I don't feel like reading it. Especially when it's like, there's a difference between trying to have a conversation and then coming out the bat swinging name calling, right? And if you're name calling me, I'm definitely not, you're not trying to have a conversation, you're trying to hurt my feelings, and so I'm not going to listen. But I did get a comment this morning that was like, saying how disappointed they are in me for saying that I don't support illegal immigration. And the reasons that I don't support illegal immigration, and I've said this before, is one, I don't support open borders because I've seen literal videos of the borders and it's just covered in condoms and little kid baby blankets, baby clothes, stuffed animals. It's enough to ruin your life, if not your fucking month, right? When you see something like that with your own eyes. I saw a video of a grown man crying, going up and down the open border with all of the sexual things like the condoms and all the baby stuff. All right. And if you don't understand that human trafficking and child trafficking is literally what our globe runs on, I don't know what to tell you. You need to do your research. I suggest Fall Cabal. You can find it on Rumble. Okay. Fall Cabal isn't perfect, but it's a great place to start. So my feelings is always towards ending PEDO stuff. Like I want to end that in society, and I want to end human trafficking, and those are my strongest feelings. I'm also someone who, my aunt is a Brazilian immigrant and my other aunt is a Peruvian immigrant. I've been over to Peru. When I was in high school, my aunt took me and my sister and her daughter over there, and I saw that, you know, how, like, Peru's a third world country. I'm not saying that to be rude, it's just, it is what it is, and it gave me a lot of perspective on life and on America and everything, and how, and like understanding my privilege of being, because I know social justice warriors love to throw that word around, so it like made me understand my privilege of being in a first world country, of being born into a first world country. But all of that to say, and then I also have friends because I worked on a farm. I started working on a farm when I was 14, and I'm still very close friends with the people who own the farm, and I made a lot of legal immigrant friends during that time while I was working on the farm. And one of my very good friends, when I was really living in poverty and I didn't have a car, she would help drive me to like work, and I would say thank you so much, and she would say, ice cream, you want to say hi? Say hi, ice cream. And I'd be like, thank you so much for the support, and she would tell me like, you know, when I first came to America, I had no friends, I had no support, I had no car, and she told me this story about how one time she had a really bad flu, and she had to walk to the doctor in the snow, because I live in Connecticut, it snows here, and so she had to walk to the doctor in the snow alone while she was sick, and she was like, during that time, I really wished someone would have helped me. And so, because of hearing her struggles, and she's such a wonderful, interesting person, and she shares her culture with me, and it's like, I think that's why I've always had a hard time when people yell at me about how I'm like appropriating culture, because I've spent my life being around people who have shared their culture with me, and it was never about like, I know it sounds so cheesy, but it was never about appropriation. It was about like learning and appreciating their culture. And then, you know, too, there's the whole other aspect of it of being Native American, but being white presenting, as they say, and that really pisses people off when you're Native, but you don't exactly look Native. But whenever I've talked about that, I've heard from people in other parts of the world, like in Brazil and stuff, that are Native, and they're like, yeah, no, like, I'm like white with freckles and red hair, and that really pisses people off that I'm Native. It's like, we're at a point in history where I think so many people are mixed, and like, people come in so many different shapes and sizes and colors that you can't really judge a book by its color in that way, by its cover in that way. But Anyway, I don't support illegal immigration simply because I, don't support human trafficking, and it makes human trafficking really easy because I have legal immigrants in my life who like worked for that status, and I had to watch them struggle to get to the point where they could have that status and make a lot of sacrifices in their life to have that status. I also don't like when people come here and instead of acclimating to our culture and sharing their culture, they try to like force their ways on other people, like with at the risk of sounding like racist, when I was hearing about people speaking about how like when Haitians were coming in, and it's not that I don't have anything against Haitians, but some Haitians were coming in and they didn't know the rules of the road, and so then they're like driving on the road and there's all these car accidents because they haven't acclimated to American culture or understanding that. And I will say, when I went to Peru, there were no rules of the road. Like, it was really scary getting in the car because there were stoplights, but nobody stopped for them. Like, and that was just my personal experience in Peru. But so it's like, I just don't like that. Like, I also don't like that it's like these people were just given cars and stuff when nobody taught them how to be in them properly. I'm not blaming them for doing that. I'm blaming the government for handing them these, gifts basically that they're not giving to the American people. They're not giving to veterans. They're not creating homes for the homeless that we already have. Like, I just really struggled to embody giving all these kindnesses and gifts to people from outside the country while neglecting people in the country. So that's another reason. And then also too, when you heard about all of these like illegal immigrant criminals who were like literally murdering little girls and raping little girls, like, and as I said, the most important thing to me in life is getting rid of the PEDO culture and ending human trafficking. So like when I'm hearing that, I'm like not cool with it, and then I'm even more not cool with it because they're undocumented. So then it's like they do these bad things and then they get sent back out, just like kicked right back out in the world to go do those bad things again because they don't have any documentation to hold them there. And so, because I heard people at one of my Zumba classes talking about, well, how many Americans break the law? And it's like, fair, but they're also documented and they get held accountable for the laws that they break. So it's a bit of a different story. But anyway, I'm just saying all of that as my perspective. But so I got that really angry comment earlier about like how someone's really mad at me for not supporting illegal immigration. So there you go. That's a really surface explanation of why I don't support. I could go on, that's a conversation that could be had for an hour if we really wanted to talk about it and not yell at each other and like hear each other's sides. But I just also got given a video saying that ICE is overstepping their bounds and they're now harassing Navajos and Native Americans. I just got covered in chills over my entire body. And as someone who is Native American, and I'm not all that Native American. My great-grandfather was Native, and then my grandmother, who is Native, was one of my main abusers, so I never really got to learn from her because I had to remove her from my life because she was a very toxic person. Apparently ICE is using this as an excuse to harass Native Americans, and I'm just here to say that like I'm very disturbed by that, and it really bothers me that Native Americans are the original group of oppressed people, and for some reason society always finds a way to ignore them or discount their pain or brush them aside or pay them off or whatever. And it's like Native Americans have been exiled to the little bits of land that they have left, and it is so disturbing to think that ICE is overstepping their bounds and using this as an opportunity to try and victimize and colonize a group of people who's already been victimized and colonized to the brim. And I feel like Native Americans so often get lost in the shuffle because nowadays oppression and being a victim has become currency, in my opinion. And I feel that people love to find ways to like tell you that they're oppressed or they're a victim or they're marginalized or this or that. And that's never been the mentality that I've ever wanted. Like, I've never wanted to, use my struggles as an excuse to be less than I can be. And so I really don't understand that currency of victimization during this time. And it just feels like, as everybody is screaming about how they're losing their rights and everything, whether like from other groups, here the Native Americans are again being victimized and colonized, and where are the people standing up for them? No one's ever stood up for them. No one's ever made it right what happened. And I just felt like it was my duty to come on here and say that, like, yeah, no, I don't support open borders. I don't support countries offloading their criminals and just using America like a toilet for their undesirables. I don't support, you know, the illegal immigrants who have RAPED little girls and murdered, you know, upstanding citizens, like the girl who was like in school to be a nurse over in Georgia. Like, I don't support that, but I certainly don't support the natives being attacked in all of this either. And I don't even understand how that's possible, because for one, where would you even send them to? Like, this is their homeland, like you have nowhere to send them. And for two, like they didn't come here illegally, like they've been here. So just because they maybe don't have the same documentation as everybody else, but isn't it the government who made them have different identification? Like, isn't it the government who gives them different kinds of paperwork and stuff? So how can you fault them for having different kinds of paperwork when you're the one who's in charge of their paperwork? So, like, yeah, that's just what I wanted to say, that it's like, I think when I get those really nasty comments, it's like people think that I'm trying to be hateful or that I'm a bigot, or they called me a racist. And it's like, that shit hurts my feelings, for one. And two, it's like, no, like, you're not even asking me where I'm coming from. You're yelling at me about how I'm wrong. And I just think if we want to move forward in society, we have to start seeing both sides of the equation, and we have to start hearing each other out. We can't just scream in each other's face and hope that anything is going to change. We need to be able to see both sides of the equation, and we need to be able to do what's right. And I feel like if there's one thing that we should all be able to come together on, it should be that, like, it should be against the exploitation of children, right? Or against human trafficking. And that is like my main focus, and I've taken a lot of heat over the years for that being my main focus, because everybody else wants to yell at me about the problems that they're focused on and how I'm not doing enough to focus on the problems that they're focused on. But guys, I'm one girl. And when I put out my video about, you know, how I realized I was psychic and not psychotic, you're gonna see, like, I've been through a lot. I barely scratched the surface on what I've been through when it comes to medical abuse, in my opinion and experience. But it's like, that's just the surface of what I've been through in my life. And so I really am doing my best. I'm not here trying to hurt anybody. I'm not here trying to change anybody's mind and make you believe what I believe. I just have my life experiences. I just have my personal things that I've lived through that make me think and feel the way that I do. And just because I'm focused on one problem doesn't mean I don't care about your problem, or I hate you for caring about your problem. No, I'm actually glad that you are focused on that problem. I use the example of Kenna really being focused on ending the war in Palestine. Like, that was part of her mission. Part of her mission here was to focus on that and to support people through that. And, you know, I took heat for not, like, really talking about that, but it's like, that's because I truly didn't have the mental capacity to watch the crimes against humanity that were happening. I was literally at my brim, and as someone who has struggled with unaliving behavior and ideation in the past, I didn't want to watch babies be murdered. And yeah, maybe I'm privileged for not having to see it with my own eyes, but at the same time, I'm not going to do anybody any good if I just take myself out because I can't take the evils of this society. And so it's not that I'm trying to ignore any problems. It's not that I'm trying to ignore other people's pain. It's just I have a certain cap for what I can ingest. And if I can't ingest it, then I don't feel comfortable speaking about it publicly, because I don't have enough information on it. Because then people will get really mad at you when you're giving false information, or just you're not really fully understanding the information that you're supposed to speak on. So I'm glad that people are focusing on these issues and stuff. And I don't think we're all supposed to have the same mission, right? I feel like we're all pieces of the puzzle, and we come together in our differences so that we can make humanity whole again, and that we can take back humanity for good, and that we can end this modern day slavery of, like, human trafficking and other ways that we're enslaved by the 1%, and that we can not have to always agree with each other, but that we can just talk to each other and see both sides of the coin and understand each other from our own personal real life experiences. And so that was what I wanted to say about that, really. And I just hope that, you know, going forward, we can have more conversations like this and see the other side of things and understand where people are coming from. And instead of attacking each other, we can go after the systems or the governmental officials and like perceived authority over humanity that just keep making bad decisions for us. Like, I don't think anybody wanted the wars that we experienced over the last couple years, but that didn't matter, because even though all of us were calling for peace, the war pigs, like that song by Black Sabbath, they were calling for, go listen to that song. It's literally what we've been dealing with for the last 3 years and beyond, right? And before you and I were even born. So it's like, we never asked for those wars. We called for peace. I think humanity as a whole really does want to come together and come against the 1%, but so many people are so distracted fighting their neighbor that they don't realize that they're fighting their peers, and that they're not fighting, like, they're showing me, okay, so like, you know, with skin cancer, how it's like, if you have like a cancerous mole, it's like, yeah, the mole is on top, but then they have to take a bunch of skin underneath because there's like a root to that cancer, right? So it's almost like people are fighting the mole on top, and they're completely missing the point of like the root of where this cancerous behavior and these cancerous societal beliefs come from. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that because I was very disturbed to hear that about the Native Americans. And I just want to say as well, I just want to give a reminder, like, I did not vote. I did not vote for either side. I stayed home on voting day and I prayed. I just prayed to God. I said, you know better than me, and I don't want to be a part of this. I don't consent to any of this. So, and how I had talked about in the past that there were things about Trump that I support. I do still support things about him, but this, no, I don't support that. There's a lot that I don't support. I don't want him to take Palestine. I don't want him to take Canada. Like, there's a lot of weird shit that he's trying to do, and I think it's important to remember that when you're voting for governmental officials, you're voting for the lesser of two evil if you vote at all, and that the people, the regular everyday people that might be supporting a certain politician, it does not mean that they're a carbon copy of that politician, or that they make excuses or have some sort of grandiose delusion and like worshiping them like a false idol. A lot of us are just regular people that have our own beliefs, like I said, from our own personal experiences in life, and those beliefs are nuanced. And there is not a lot of gray area or nuance in the world that we live in today. And I learned a lot in therapy that when you have something like bipolar or borderline personality disorder or any other mental illness, you look at the world through black and white, and there is always a gray area. There's always a nuance to everything. And I just think it speaks to the sickness of the world that we're being forced into viewing our peers and life in such a black and white lens. So this is just my statement on that. And if we can send some positive energy and some healing energy to the Native tribes right now, I would really appreciate that as well. I don't have a lot of time today because I have work I need to finish getting done, but we'll come on here, we'll do some Reiki for the natives and for the land eventually when I have the time to do it. And what I said in the beginning, a call to action for opening up a white light portal over the Super Bowl so that we can make sure that the energy is not harvested for evil. It's harvested for source as we perceive source, God as you perceive God, for good, for the light, for the unconditional love, and for the betterment of all, the betterment of all on this planet, plants, animals, and people. And also, too, if we can make the Eagles win, because I think that'll be pretty funny. They won't know what happened because it's definitely rigged for the Chiefs. So if we can all use our energy for those, obviously the natives and the white light portal are more important, but if you want to do that as well and try to put your frequency and energy into the Eagles winning, I think that would be pretty cool. But I think that's all I have to say about that. I'm going to check the chat really quick and then I'm going to get going because I've got other stuff I have to do. But thanks to the person, it was like Leslie, I believe, that commented, you know, what was going on with the natives, and thank you for bringing it to my awareness. It really, I'm grateful because it opened up this ability for me to communicate my life experience and also why I have certain beliefs that I have. So thank you, and thank you for looking out for the natives in a world that feels like they want to pretend that natives don't exist and shove them away. Oh God, I'm scared. I'm scared to look at this chat. Sending love and light to all Indigenous people. Thank you, Rando. I send love to all that need it. Thank you, little bird of light art. Sorry, that's like a mouthful. I'm 42 and lost my trust at 18. I'm sorry to hear that. Hey, Maria. I haven't trusted politicians for decades. Same. I'm like the meme of that guy from Futurama. I forget his name, but he's like glaring. Like, that's how I look at all politicians now. To be honest, I do not trust any politicians. Everyone's saying they don't trust the politicians. What about Greenland? Leave those people alone. Yeah, see, I can't even keep up with everything. Like, that's the other thing is, like, I am no expert. I'm no expert. Like, I have my certain things that I'm invested in that, you know, the Trump campaign has said it's going to help. Like, there's certain things I'm invested in, but I'm also not an expert. So I you know, don't take places that don't want to be taken. If Greenland doesn't want to freaking be a part of America, then fine. That's not, like, it's like we have enough we need to worry about with our own people, which is what I said in the beginning. Also, everyone is in survival mode. That is so freaking true. We're talking about some of the poorest people on the face of the planet, literally, that just keep being victimized and colonized. It's just not okay. Free Palestine, hell yeah. I've been against the genocide in Gaza since day one. Yeah, and it's like, I just want peace. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. Like, can we just have fucking peace? Like, I feel like all of us have expressed that we don't want war, that it hurts us. It hurts our families, our family lines, our children, our elders. Like, this kind of crap hurts us. So why do they get to sit on their throne and dictate that, like, this is going to be war and you're going to kill this person? Like, all from the safety of their palace. I'm just not cool with it. Oh my god, hi Pookie, I love you, I hope your day is going well. Hi, who killed Sora? You've been here a long time. It's cracking me up you keep calling me Pookie. You called me that in the comments too. She looks gorgeous. Oh, thank you, Lizzie. I feel like sadly things are only getting worse, but more people are waking up. And I think that's what it is, Mimi. I think that we kind of talked about this last night. I did a Zoom with some of my, like, the girls who work for me. And, like, the message that came out was, like, we need to let this shit up. It needs to be, like, seen so that we can, like, not consent to it anymore and let it out and be done with it. People need to know what's going on. And I've also been watching a lot of, just, like, old-timey, like, videos from AI enhanced, suspiciously, but from, like, the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and it's like, dude, like, they were so freaking blissfully unaware. Like, there's no way to be blissfully unaware during 2025, so it's like we're already... This shit has been coming to the surface for a long time. This is a long time coming. Thank you for the likes, guys. I really appreciate it, and then it puts the video out, and then it makes me feel like, you know, other people understand where I'm coming from and support me where I'm coming from. No fear, strength in purpose. Strength in our purpose, gorgeous. Thank you. Peace, please. Exactly. Yes, don't go down the UK past path. Yeah, and, like, talking about how he wants to send Palestinians to the UK, like, are you kidding me? Give them back their home. Their home has been ransacked for however fucking long. We finally got a ceasefire. Way too long. Way too long. And this is, like, an ongoing war. It's, like, not just what we're seeing today. Like, this has been going on for years and years and years periodically throughout time, way before what we're seeing today. Like, this is a never-ending war. And so it just kicked up again. It happened to kick up again while the last administration was in office. And so it's like, we finally got a ceasefire. What the hell is wrong with you? Give them back their home. Now that you stopped the war, give it back, you know? Yeah, so that's really all I have to say about that. I'm about to do a tarot card reading channeling Sharon Tate. I'm like really excited to do that. Definitely mean no harm with that either. Like I was saying, like it's like I'm never coming on here trying to like make people feel like shit or make people feel bad. Like that's not the kind of space I'm trying to create here. And we were kind of talking about that on the Zoom last night too. Like what kind of space are you trying to create? And the space I'm trying to create is one that heals and one that's supportive and one that's able to have conversations, right? So, and as I was saying, if you can have a conversation with me without off the bat being like really rude or calling me names, then it's like I'm happy to have a conversation. But if not, it's just both of us get our feelings hurt. So yeah, I'm about to do a channeling of Sharon Tate. I don't know what exactly she wants to tell us, but if you know, if you've been keeping up with what I did over 2024, I did a lot of research like energetically, and I did a lot of research with channeling myself and others who were alive during that time, channeling our past lives and what was going on. And then we did that really big twin flame spell, the mod files, where it was like for twin flames who were alive during the 60s and the 70s. And then all of a sudden all these whistleblowers started to come out and talk about like the corruption of the CIA and everything like that during that time. So I just felt like we kind of kicked that energy off, and it's continuing to radiate, and I feel very proud of that work that I did. And there was like a lot of spiritual attack on that work, even from within. Like, so yeah, I'm really proud of that work, and I look forward to channeling Sharon Tate with the utmost respect for whatever it is that she wants to share with us. So keep an eye out for that, and let's just get married. I don't know, Miguel. I don't just run away and elope. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you haven't watched my Kemetic reading and you have an interest in ancient Egypt, it might be something you're interested in. And as always, I did put a classic Dutch pick a card of what do they love about you. So if you haven't seen that, that is up. We're going to do the 18 plus version of that as well. Today just isn't the day because it's just been too chaotic. Like if I'm going to do that reading, I need to be in a higher frequency than, like, it's not that I'm in a low frequency. It's just there's a lot of there's a lot of shit to be sad about, right? Like there's a lot of shit going on. So, and then I also did, you want to be freaking amazed? I just did the video on how I realized I was psychic and not psychotic because I found piles and piles and piles of pharmaceuticals that I never unpacked when I moved into this new house, and I still had them. So keep an eye out for that video. I'll be uploading that soon. So I love you guys. Thank you always for the support, and I'll see you soon. It was a pleasure to be a part of it. Can't wait for the 18 plus reading. All right, on that note, I love you guys. Thanks to my wonderful moderators. You're fucking awesome. Thanks for hearing me out. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you guys astrally for the Super Bowl so we can take back the light, and we can take back this ritual sacrifice, and we can do what's right and help heal the planet. All right, I love you.